12 total, is that about right? Okay. All right, we should be able to make it through them in an hour or two. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Van Andel Institute. For those of you who didn't walk downstairs from upstairs, some of you came from halfway around the world, and we're thrilled to see you here today. Welcome to Bioconductor 2024. I'm here introducing the principal investigator of the project, Vince Carey, who's sitting in the first row, but we have some acknowledgements to make for the people who made this possible. And so among them, Moderna and Microsoft generously signed up as gold level sponsors to support the conference and the project. And then the ARC Consortium, Denali Therapeutics, Novartis, Bluebird Bio, and Bristol Myers Squibb all kindly support the project at the silver level. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors for helping to make this possible. This is not an inexpensive endeavor, and we greatly appreciate the support from the community. Among the organizing committee members, Mahmoud Ahmed from the Institute of Cancer Research, Kritika Bhuvanesh from Georgetown University, Vince Carey, front row, you'll be hearing from Vince quite a bit over the course of the event. Mark Carlson from Seattle Children's Hospital. Mark kindly hosted the Seattle edition of this in 2022. Maria Doyle from the University of Limerick. Many of you may have met Maria as part of the RNA sequencing workshop. Maria is the community manager for the Bioconductor project. Mikhail Dozmarov from Virginia Commonwealth University. Mikhail has managed most of the mechanics of the web presence of the Bioconductor project, especially prior to Maria ripping out the studs and completely re-architecting the website. So Mikhail also is a co-author of ours for a project that we were shocked to discover was in use within weeks of being published. So cheers again to Bioconductor infrastructure for making people's work available to the entire world so rapidly. Jenny Dernovich drove up from Chicago to help administer the RNA sequencing workshop, which in large part wrote. So those of you who haven't put in your feedback forms for the RNA sequencing workshop, please do so we can make it even better. Erica Fike from the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Erica started out as Rafa's admin, and maybe you still are, but it's more become the hand of God in the Bioconductor project in terms of executing these massive events. So Lauren Harmon is a Van Andel Institute graduate student in my lab, and she also helped to ensure that this event came off properly. Mike Love couldn't make it here in person, but Mike wrote DESeq2 and a ton of other packages that many of you are probably familiar with, and has done an enormous amount to polish and add substance to the methods foundation of the project. Alex Mahmoud, unfortunately, Alex also couldn't make it, though not for lack of trying. After 15 flight changes, Alex decided it might be easier to maintain the Galaxy instance for all the workshops from where he is, I think in upstate New York, is that right? So, oh, he's moved to Massachusetts. So Alex Mahmoud is the conduit between the Galaxy project and the Bioconductor project and manages a tremendous amount of infrastructure for both. Matt McCall from the University of Rochester. Matt was a student of Rafa Irizarry's and has been an active contributing member of the project for many, many years, as well as an active organizing member for the conference. Lori Kern. Lori and I were supposed to tag team the package development workshop in just a minute here. Unfortunately, Lori got COVID, so she'll be virtually proctoring it, and hopefully leading me around by the hand as I attempt to introduce disciplined package development to new Bioconductor developers in about 45 minutes. Charlotte Soneson. Charlotte has developed a tremendous number of packages. Hopefully you're here. Maybe we should be having people raise their hands, but it's a bit late for that. Charlotte has developed a tremendous number of packages and has recently been focused on more educationally useful or practical packages for developing intuition. And she's in tandem been a tremendous help for organizing both curricular materials and also in-person events for the Bioconductor Conference over the years. Tim Trish is some guy from the Van Andel Institute. You don't have to worry about that one. Levi Waldron is the principal investigator on the Information Technologies for Cancer Research grant that in part supports the Bioconductor project, and that's been renewed. Levi has also been a longtime organizer and hosted the 2019 Bioconductor Conference in New York City, which prior to that was thought to be impossible. Wes Wilson is here from Penn after a short jaunt through the countryside, and Wes again has been tremendously helpful over the years in putting together all of these conferences and executing the lightning talks as well. And finally, Courtney Zirkle is our events planning and organizational planner here at the Van Andel Institute. Courtney makes all of the sausage come out the right tube when we put on these events, which turns out to be a tremendous job. So thank you again, Courtney. I've probably said it before, but I can't say it often enough. Before we get started, I wanted to acknowledge a couple of important people. One of them is the Van Andel family. This building is the gift of the Van Andel family, and instead of opening a center in Boston or DC or New York or San Francisco, they chose to open a research center in their hometown, which turned out to be perhaps fortuitous, because for a lot of us, it's allowed us to navigate some of the vagaries of funding and the ups and downs of research support and get actual science done. So I wanted to thank the Van Andel family for this lovely building and for providing a place for us to do science. But long before any of the European settlers arrived here, at least 2,000 years ago, but probably more like 11,000 years ago, the Anishinaabe, or original peoples of the Great Lakes, colonized the Grand River and most likely navigating in from Lake Michigan. And the existence of the Grand River Valley settlements long predates written historical records, but we know for a fact that there must have been people here for at least 2,000 years, because that's how old the Hopewell burial mounds just south of town are. Now, across the river from here are the Anabawan burial mounds that are left behind as partial reminders of the original settlement in this chunk of the Grand River Valley by the Potawatomi tribe. The original settlement, permanent settlement here, is at least 500 years old, but again, most likely much older. Now, in the early 19th century, the first recorded French-Canadian traders arrived via the Grand River from Lake Michigan and began trading with the Potawatomi tribe. In 1821, so just 2 decades thereafter, the Treaty of Chicago began to displace some of the original inhabitants of this place. Nevertheless, not only did the original inhabitants of this land continue to accommodate the newcomers, but also continued to trade with the people who began to settle here. About 0.5% of Grand Rapidians right now today can trace their ancestry directly back to the Anishinaabe peoples. So we thank them and the original inhabitants of this place and their welcome of newcomers for at least 500 years. And we encourage you to take in some of the history all around you while you're here. And so with that, I'm going to hand this over to Vince, who will hopefully make sense of this delightful drawing.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you very much, Tim, for handling this and for all you've done for the project. I'm going to speak for just a couple of minutes about Bioconductor, give you some perspective on what's going on. I made this diagram back in January and submitted it to the Technical Advisory Board for one of our meeting agendas, and there was no comment. I did get one sort of off-site comment who said it looked like it was done by a crazy person, quote unquote. Of course, it would be maybe less crazy if I did it in a fancy typesetting system with a graph and so forth, but I'm trying to get at some of the issues that our core team, a very small core team, grapple with every day. Right in the middle there, you see 5 nodes. Those are the 5 platforms that any bioconductor user can pick and expect everything to work. x86 Linux, Windows, ARM Linux, M1 Mac, etc. And a number of these platforms sort of just came up. They weren't planned for. But the team powered through and is producing all software binaries and so forth for these platforms. Also for WASM, WebAssembler. How many folks have tried out WebR, WebAssembly? Quite a few. That's good. Well, if you want to use any bioconductor package, you can use it, thanks to efforts of Alex Mahmoud. Yeah, how about documentation? How many are Quarto users? Yeah, that's great. That's a lot. I've tried it out. I've used it every now and then, but you know, bringing it in as a fundamental resource for, let's say, interactive vignette production, I don't know that we're there quite yet, but I think we need to get there. And that is work for the core that's pretty significant. How about TIPST? Anybody here? That's replacement of LaTeX. So that's something that I've been hearing about from Posit, and you might want to learn a little bit about. It does look interesting, but again, it's more work. How about Python? People like to work with Python and R together? How many? Hey, what's going on up there? Why don't you come down? Sit with everybody else. So there's Python, many different versions of Python, and there's Basilisk and other things like that to work with to help you use both languages. And now we're getting submissions that involve Rust. We have RPatched and RDevel constantly being renewed, version changes and so forth. We have our own release and devel branches, build reports. You see I've put hearts around GitHub Actions. How many love GitHub Actions? Yeah, it's an interesting framework, and I hope we can really leverage it to automate a lot more of what's going on in bioconductor. But that is a conceptual leap for many people. Jetstream 2 has a heart, and that is an NSF resource that we've been entitled to use for a couple of years. So it's essentially a free cloud for our research use. We have made a lot of use of that to back up a lot of our commercial cloud activities, which started many years ago when it was a much smaller project with much less demand. And as the project has grown, our commercial cloud costs have grown as well without any accommodation by our funders. So that's just a sketch of some of the things that our little core have to think about every day, and they keep coming back. We have good retention in our core. Folks have been around for many years, and they are making sense of all of this so that you and many other users can take advantage of it. I have here interests, expectations, requirements grow, but resources are actually shrinking. I'll tell you a little more about that. And these values, I thought I would list them out. There's user experience that must be pretty good because so many people continue to use it. There's developer experience, which also must be pretty good because people keep on contributing packages. What's EX? Educator experience. So we have Carpentries now giving a course. What's IX? Investigator experience, that's right. So PIs who have to write grants will say, hey, yeah, let's use bioconductor. But do they put any funding in for bioconductor? No. Do we have a mechanism for doing that yet? No. Should NIH do something like that so that they can actually support the project? Probably yes, but it's not really clear how to do that. And FX, what is FX? Oh yeah, funder experience. Well, I think the funder experience has been pretty good. Technical and community steps forward. So let's see how we're doing on time. How many have contributed a bioconductor package? Yeah, good numbers of that. It's a pretty decent process, right? You have a GitHub repo, you can check your own stuff, make sure that it's working, you file the form, and you push a button, and there it goes. And Lori will be looking at it and making sure you haven't done anything that could mess up our system, and then it will start being processed, and you'll get a check report and so on, and a reviewer will be assigned. So that's been going on well, and there's been over 3,000 package submission issues to date. It's pretty impressive. We have 2 staff members who unfortunately are going to have to leave their positions because of the cuts, who worked on modernization of our cloud infrastructure. So operating system upgrades, storage design enhancements, improved email handling, event logging, and automated control of egress processes. When you push the button on your machine and you ask for the human genome of, HG18 or whatever it is, it comes pretty quickly to you. And that's because of decisions that were made a long time ago by people who left a long time ago. And it's starting to get to the point where we have automated systems out there, places we don't know, pulling everything all the time. And getting some control over that took some technical work, which I'm thankful for a number of folks getting involved with. Workshop.bioconductor.org. A lot of you are going to be using that during this session. And if you prepared a workshop component, we have Alex Mahmoud to thank for that. It's a really fascinating system. Also, Marcel has written an app so that you can specify the features of your workshop, and then it will be automatically processed and go into the workshop system for delivery to anybody who can log into the system. Build check system processes. So Jen and Alex and Marcel are all, and Hervé are vitally involved with the activity of producing binaries, check reports, etc., every day for bioconductor users. Sometimes it's skipped. And then BioC Check and BioC Manager really help to get the software out there, and before it gets out there, to verify that it's meeting conditions that are far and above those required by our command check. Binary production. So if you're using a container, you don't have to compile packages within your container. You can just sort of pull a precompiled binary, thanks to work that Alex has done. Again, Weber and WASM. Hervé. Everyone in the world who uses Bioconductor is using Hervé Page's software. And he's working now, has a new system called Sparse Array, which breaks through the certain barriers that exist in our data array structures. Delayed array has been made use of in many large-scale activities, and the refactoring of our track layer is ongoing. We have an intern, Ezekiel Ekanam. I don't know whether he's come today. If you're here, raise your hand. No? I thought he was going to come. Anyway, he's working on the frontier of bringing the new concepts of artificial intelligence into Bioconductor by building one of these retrieval augmented generative stores based on samples from the support site. So it could be very useful for folks who are coming in, want to have more natural language interaction with information on the system. We're making some progress there. Other collaborative progress, discussions with Jeroen Ooms of R-Universe concerning automation. R-Universe, if you've been acquainted with that, has a very interesting way of dealing with every R package that's in GitHub. And the scale at which they're working and the automation that they've introduced should be useful to our projects. We're trying to introduce connections to that. Aaron Lund and Jerem Kancherla, Jerem should be here, of Genentech, are making progress in this idea of language agnostic representations of experiments and annotation that can be more helpful to people who are using Python, etc. So Gypsum, Alabaster packages, ArtifactDB, these are things you should start getting aware of, filing issues on, because they are helping to improve the utility of all the contributions that people have made to Bioconductor beyond the R community. And if you want to use Python software, Basilisk is a very good resource for controlling the interface between what you have and what is out there in PyPy or in Conda. Yes, I mentioned already the efforts to incorporate LLM technologies. There's a cloud working group led by Erdal Kozgun of Microsoft and Brian Schilder, who was the past chair. We have continued work, thanks to early work by Jen Wakady with Outreachy, to build internships for people who are reaching in to genomic data science. And we've been adopted by NumFocus as a fiscal sponsor for activities that may be international and require nonprofit organizational support. I'm sure there are other examples of collaboration that I haven't touched on. Funding. So the CZI has been a good helper for Bioconductor. There were a number of round 6 EOSS successes addressing community manager, search technology, incorporation of GPUs in our build infrastructure, tidiomics, and ontology to tag Bioconductor resources. Tim already mentioned that the NCI support with Levi Waldron has been renewed. Unfortunately, our NHGRI award was cut by 17% for this year. We're trying to deal with that. So those are the comments about Bioconductor as a scientific project. Questions? Thoughts? If not, I'm going to turn this over to Tim again or Erica for discussion of these logistical issues. Yeah. I would say the Van Andel Institute, you've already been acquainted with, so we don't necessarily have to do this slide, but scan the QR code to get your account in Ring Central, which Erica will now talk about. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I do want to reiterate my thanks to the Van Andel Institute, Tim and Courtney, for all of the work that they put in and this amazing space that we get to use for the next 3 days. So just very quickly, everything is on this floor. So we're mostly using this room and a room down the hall. All the food will be here, everything like that. Breakfast and lunch will be served on all 3 days. We are going to be doing a walking tour of Grand Rapids, and there'll be more information about that as the day goes on, but there's a QR code at the registration desk, and we're arranging a meetup spot. So if you're interested in joining a group to walk around Grand Rapids and see the interesting sights and grab some dinner, we will be doing that after the conference concludes today. And there's a lot of information on the Slack channel. If you want to go off on your own and just looking for a good restaurant or a place to visit, there's a lot of good things on the local tips channel. We are using Ring Central, which is the same platform we used last year, just under a different name. So if you attended last year, it probably looks very, very similar. For the most part, we'll be using the sessions tab for most of it, but the keynotes will be in the stage part of it. So for our online attendees, just kind of toggle between those two things to find the session that you want to watch. Recordings, everything will be recorded and we'll make them available as soon as possible on the platform. So we know that we have a lot of people attending from across the world that maybe are sleeping right now and you want to catch up. So we're going to make those available on the platform as soon as possible. And there's also a networking tab where you can connect with both in-person and virtual attendees. Technical notes just for the in-person attendees. The microphones in these rooms are intended to help with Q&A sessions, but they also will pick up your side conversations. So if you are in a session and you want to whisper to your attendee, just know that the microphones could pick that up. So if you need to have a conversation, maybe you just step out very quickly. For virtual attendees, when you're watching the keynotes in the stage, we recommend that you pin the speaker, and you can just click the 3 lines in the top right, and that will pin the speaker to make it the viewing better. And just make sure your audio is muted. You know, everybody knows all this stuff. We've been doing hybrid for a long time. So just, you know, make sure that you're muted so that we don't hear your conversations or your dog barking in the background. And if you have trouble with Ring Central, we're finding that refreshing the screen or just leaving the session and come back in can usually fix the problem pretty quickly. If it's a larger problem, we will post an announcement on the platform. And if you're using the mobile app, just know that you can't see announcements in there. They can only be found in the browser. So we do this every year, and we're very adamant about following the rules of Code of Conduct. So you can find the full description on our website of the Code of Conduct, as well as multiple reporting options, both anonymous and in person. So this is the basics of it, and it includes both in-person and virtual attendees. Feel free to come up to the registration desk to me or anybody on the Code of Conduct Committee if you have an issue, or you can report anonymously as well. We do address these very quickly to make sure that everybody's having a comfortable and safe conference. At this point, I think I'm turning it back to Tim, unless you guys just want me to start the workshop video. Okay, great. So Alex put this workshop video together for everyone. And since we're going into the workshops next, it seems appropriate.
Welcome to the Bioconductor Workshop Galaxy instance at workshop.bioconductor.org. First, head to workshop.bioconductor.org, where you will need to either sign in if you've already registered or click Register. Enter your name, email, and secure password. This is a free service, offered with no guarantees. Please read our terms of service and privacy policy for the platform. After you hit Register or log in, you will be redirected to the instance where you can see a list of workshops on the left side panel. You can select your workshop or package demo by clicking on it, and then launch your instance by clicking the Run Tool button. Please wait until the Open button appears in the blue box, as it is the best indicator that your newly launched workshop is ready. If you access it from the user menu early, you may see an error. Clicking the Open button will take you to a new tab, where you will see a new RStudio session, and it will automatically open a vignette for some of the workshops. You can follow along and run code like the presenter in your RStudio session. You may access running workshops from the Interactive Tools menu as well, which can be found by clicking the left side Interactive Tools button, or this button in the top bar. To go back to the home page, you may click the logos in the top left corner. The Workshops button on the left should always be visible on the home page. When you are done with a workshop, you should stop your RStudio instance. Go to the Interactive Tools menu, select the workshops to delete, then click Stop. Only 2 instances can be running for each user at a time. If you forget to stop your old instances, you may be indefinitely waiting for new workshops to launch. Only 2 instances can be running for each user at a time. If you forget to stop your old instances, you may be indefinitely waiting for new workshops to launch. Please read the details on the home page, outlining important information about the RStudio containers. Only 2 active instances per user, so please remember to stop your workshops after each session. We might also shut down your instances from the admin side to free up capacity for others. No data will be saved in between sessions, so download any script or data from the instance before the end of the workshop session. Never share the link to your instance, including in screenshots. Finally, thank you for being a part of the Bioconductor community, and we hope you enjoy learning with the Bioconductor Workshop Galaxy.
Thank you. I'm sorry for those who were online who may have seen that at low resolution. I should have expanded the video. Please take note of this tiny URL, WKSH 2024, and you can watch the video again at better resolution. I apologize for that. It's 9:01. I think that wraps our introductory session, and we can now get ready to go to our workshops. Thank you all for coming, and I wish you a wonderful stay. Thank you.